This is a very different video to what I normally do. You look through my channel, all of it is rankings and reviews, but as the title suggests, this is something different. If you are a subscriber, you would notice that in the past month or two, I haven't really uploaded as much, and there is a reason behind that. It's not just that I've given up or anything, because to be honest, I'm still following the schedule I have, but there have been some changes. As I mentioned, I did cover reviews and rankings, and the majority of my channel's existence has existed in a lockdown. That means a lot of spare time on my hands. But now over here in England, the lockdowns are over, everything's nearly back to normal, and thus meaning I don't have as much time on my hands. And it was no surprise to me looking at my channel that all the videos that did well were rankings, whether that was movie rankings, ranking of TV shows, or even seasons. The worst performing videos would always be my individual reviews, and I thought, considering in my rankings I tend to cover that movie that I just reviewed anyway, albeit a shorter review, I thought, is there much point of just doing those reviews and then a ranking when you're pretty much just filming the review twice? And given the amount of time and effort I put into that, as well as the rankings, I thought it isn't worth doing those individual review videos. So if you've noticed, I have scrapped them and I'm just doing rankings now. But I wasn't completely satisfied with that decision, as there are films which don't belong in a franchise, which therefore wouldn't really be in a ranking, so that would just mean I wouldn't cover them. And I love a good indie movie as well, or a movie that's not in a franchise, so by doing that I wouldn't be able to cover those films which aren't attached to a franchise. And if you noticed, I've also started doing director ranking, so ranking all the films in a director's filmography, which allows me to cover that film as well as other individual films. But that doesn't apply to every film, because it may not make sense to do that director ranking. So what I have decided is I've scrapped individual reviews. I'm just focusing on rankings. I look to doing different types of rankings as well, like I have done with the Saw franchise. Cover those individual films which aren't attached to a franchise, as well as director rankings. I have decided in time, not straight away because I need some catch up to do, but I'm going to be ranking all the films I saw in a given month. And that's just not like, you know, for example, if I watch The Lion King tonight, I'm not going to include that in a ranking for the end of the month. I mean films that were released in that month that I saw. So, you know, the Suicide Squad could qualify for the August ranking, but as I said, I'm not doing that straight away because I have some other things to deal with. But if you do like those individual reviews, I still frequently review my films on Letterboxd. I'll leave a link in the description if you fancy checking that out. Maybe cover more than I do in videos. And by doing only rankings, it really does open up a lot of spare time, which means I won't be uploading as much, but the videos I do will hopefully be better quality, because as I said, in lockdown I upload pretty much nearly every day, but they were always small reviews which would maybe even get like under 10 views, whereas my rankings were always the superior videos which did the best. At the end of the year, I do plan to rank all the films I've seen, even though that will be quite a long video. I don't expect it to do well considering the duration it will probably be, but I just want to do it for me as well as for the very few of you which would be interested in seeing that, because, you know, this isn't a job per se. No, I don't make any money off doing this. I just do it for fun, as a hobby. So if a video does well, then that's just a bonus, because whenever I put out a video, I don't get demotivated by the fact that it gets a certain amount of views if it's low, but if it's high, it just makes me more motivated, so I'll be doing that anyway. But this leads me on to my next point of this video. Another topic I would like to cover is my rating system. Now, if you've watched my previous couple of videos, you would notice I talked about it a bit. I've always rated things on IMDb ever since I had this real passion for reviewing things and rating things. I started that back in 2018, but that didn't satisfy me enough, you know, giving a certain film a 7 out of 10 as well as another one which you can clearly see one's better than the other. So I changed about a year ago, I'd say, maybe less than a year ago. I changed to rating my films out of 100 and giving it like a percentage like Rotten Tomatoes does. Or if you are an IMDb user, you could just put a decimal in between the two numbers and then you have essentially that. But ever since I changed to a more specific rating system, I have been keeping track of it on IMDb, and as well as this kind of table I keep on my computer. I can say now that I'm past it. In the past, a lot of my ratings were influenced by other people's opinions. Now, not to say it was like a combined rating of me and a friend or anything, but I didn't trust myself well enough, and I know I've grown further. I'm happy to put my opinion out because essentially the whole point of this is it's my opinion, so it shouldn't matter what others think. So over the past few weeks, I've been changing my ratings around a lot. As I said, I keep track of all of them, all the films that I've rated. I can't say I've got every single film that I've watched on there because I don't like to rate them unless I've watched them recently enough to have a valid opinion on them, but I have been going through and changing a lot of them. When you look on IMDb and you find like a film which is maybe average, you tend to see around the 6.5 and 6.6 rating, and I kind of adapted that into thinking, oh, if a film's boring, I can just lazily chuck it in that category. Like, I rarely have films given like a 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, or even a 1 out of 10, but where I've been changing it, I've become more harsher, whether that's making a film higher than it needs to be or lower. I never rated a film a 10 out of 10 because I felt like that's the almost impossible task, but looking back at it now, I've given a few things 100% because it just makes sense. There wouldn't be anything I'd change about it which would make it better. So I feel like I've changed my mindset a lot, which now allows me to express my opinion more and hopefully be a more reliable source for reviewing films. But that isn't just with films, that is also with the TV shows and even the season. Now, I've looked at things, and this is where I really started to change my mindset, because I'd watch a show or I'd watch a season of a show and I'd find that season, it was alright, but then when I look on IMDb where I've rated every single episode of that season, I would gain an average of the episodes that I've rated, and whatever that average was, I'd give that as the score for that season, which would leave me very unsatisfied at points. I mainly came across this when I did my Friends ranking. It made sense to me at the time that, you know, that they still had consistent episodes, thus making the season like low 80s, but I changed my mindset into thinking it's not about the episode's average or, you know, how many episodes did well. I thought it's how those episodes came together to make this season, which is the mindset I should have initially had. So for example, you know, a bit of a spoiler because the season hasn't finished yet, but Rick and Morty, for example, this new season, if I gave an episode a 4 out of 10, but the rest of them like 7s or 8s, if this 5 out of 10 episode was maybe something which doesn't have any relevance, like if you take it out, it wouldn't, you know, change much of the end result, I'd still include it and make the average rating, and that would bring it down obviously. But if it's just like a one-off, then it shouldn't really matter what the overall thing is. The others shouldn't suffer because of this minor setback. So what I mentioned with the Friends ranking is I initially, like, one of the final seasons, or the seasons I had lowest, I gave a bunch of the episodes, like majority of them 8 out of 10s, but when I got my average rating around, I think it was an 83 or something, I wasn't satisfied with it. I felt that was higher than it deserved to be because other things I had made lower, which I found better. But then I looked at the episodes side by side, and I was like, but it doesn't match up to what I rated the episodes. So I've changed that mindset, which I'm very pleased about, and I thought I should address it now because a lot of my previous videos may not be great quality, and a lot of the things I address in them are what I think now to this day. Some of the ratings may not be the same as what I have now, so from now on my ratings should be more consistent and won't change as much. And if you've made it this far, thank you for sticking around. I just wanted to address this and update why I haven't uploaded as much, but I'll have you know there are changes coming and hopefully better videos. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Not that it was made for entertainment purposes, just to address some things. But yeah, anyways, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in my next videos.